Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking extensively on product design. We'll talk about what product design is, the prerequisites for product design, introduction to UX, difference between product design and engineering, and skills required for designing. So let's move ahead. What is product design? So generally, when you hear about product design, it basically involves creating a product that is functional, that is aesthetically pleasing, and meets the needs of user. Right? It is actually an iterative process, and it involves researching, prototyping, and testing the product to ensure that it is a good fit for the intended users. So you need to always have in mind that you are designing for a particular people, or you are designing for a group of people, or you are designing for a target audience, and you want to create products that would be good for them, that would work for them, that is very functional to them, right? So product designers must be able to take into account the needs and preferences of the user whilst considering the technical constraints and the business requirements of the product. So for you to be able to design a good product, you need to have it in mind that there are technical parts of this thing. When you design it, is it going to be able to function the way you want it to work, right? And then does it meet the business requirements? So these are things you need to consider before designing products. So for prerequisites of a product designer, for you to be a good product designer, there are certain things you need to have at the back of your mind, and you need to be good at it, right? Example is a background in design and creativity. You don't need to know how to do so much of design, but you need to have the kind of mind that you know that you can be able to think of certain things, you can create certain things, right? And then you need to be technically proficient in design software. So now that you have joined product design, you need to learn softwares, you need to learn how to use different softwares. There are example, you need to learn how to use Figma, Adobe XD, and all of those things. And then you need to understand manufacturing processes. You need to know knowledge of user-centered design principles. So design has rules, design has principles. You don't just design. There are so many things you need to consider when you are designing. So these are what we call design principles. You need to know them. Then you need to have good communication skills, right? You need to be able to communicate your design. You need to be able to have a good understanding of what you have in mind, have a good communication skills. You need to be able to relate with your fellow employees. You need to be able to relate with the stakeholders as well. So you need all of these skills to be able to do well in product design. And then you need to pay very good attention to details. Attention to details is very important. When you're able to pay a good attention to details, you'd be able to see certain things that shouldn't be. Everything is important in when you're designing. Everything is important. The color you're using is important. The button is important. The shape is important. All of those things are what you'll be able to understand when you pay attention to details. You are able to correct things that shouldn't be. Okay. So the next is UX design. We all know what UX is, which is user experience, which refers to the overall experience that a user has interacting with a product or service, right? It encompasses everything from the user interface and interaction to the overall look and feel of the product. So UX design is basically how the user is able to use your product, how they're able to interact with your product. It's everything from how they feel about the user interface to how their emotions work when they use your product. So UX design is a critical part of product design as it ensures that the product is easy to use and it meets the needs of a user, right? So UX designers must be able to take into account the needs and preferences of a user while also considering the technical constraints and the business requirements of the product. So the next is design processes. There are certain processes that a design has to go through to be able to come out as a good design and as a user-centered design, right? But then before we go into it, I need to tell us that this process is not like it's not a linear path. You can always go back. You can always move from one part to the other part. Then you have to turn back in case your research is not okay. You have to come back and redo your research again before you continue. So it's not linear, right? There is always going back and forth before you'll be able to achieve the result that you intend to achieve. So for the first phase, there is research. So in this phase, you are going to conduct a research to understand the problem or the need the product is meant to solve. So when you get that you're supposed to design certain things or you're supposed to design a product, you need to research first and understand the need this product is supposed to solve. And then when you understand it, you want to research about the market, you want to know your competitors, and you want to understand the opportunities and differentiations. Like someone would say, every product is already created. The only thing is maybe when you're creating yours, there is certain things that are different, and there are certain opportunities that have not been covered on about that particular product. So you want to do your research that way to be able to understand all of these things and create a product that is actually functional for the user. So the next phase after the um research is ideation. In this stage, you want to generate ideas for the product. You want to take into account the user's needs and the research findings, right? So you've done your research, you have your finding, then you also have a place where you have seen that in this research, this is what the user needs. So you want to document what you think the user needs, not what you think, what you got from your research that the user needs. You want to document it down and you want to create sketches and basic prototype to explore different design options. So in the ideation phase, you want to create different sketches. You want to have different ideas. You want to build on different ideas, right? So that you'll be able to see what is possible and what's not. You want to do like if you are trying to design a homepage, you want to create like three homepages, or and you want to sketch them so that you would see what is going to work and what's not going to work. It's always good to have different ideas, not just one, so that you have options to choose from. So the next phase is prototyping. Okay. In this stage, you create more advanced prototypes of the product, which will be used for testing and validation. You may use a combination of digital and physical prototyping to create these prototypes. So in this phase, you are still trying to bring out your ideas. From the ideas that you listed, you can decide to use like let's say Figma to be able to prototype it and see how your idea comes out, right? And then the next phase is the testing phase. So you will be able to conduct user testing to gather feedbacks. This feedback would be refined and the product design and make improvements. Okay. So in this phase now, what is going to happen is you want to test all these ideas that you have used either Figma or Sketches to prototype. You want to give it to actual intended users to see what they feel about the product, and then you'll be able to gather feedbacks. In that feedbacks, you would know whether it is functional, it is good to use, or there are other things you need to add to it, or there are certain things that are not okay that people don't really understand. So you want to be sure that this is actually going to solve the problem you intend for it to solve. Because every product should solve a problem and every product solves a problem. And when you have a problem that you are designing for and after designing it doesn't solve a problem, then you haven't done anything because the intention for you to design is that the product is able to solve a particular problem. So testing phase is very important. You need to be sure that the intended users you want to use this product actually find it functional and useful. Okay. So the last phase is launching. At this stage, you've done your final product design, you launch it in the market, and you create marketing materials and develop sales strategies to promote the product. Right. So after even after launching, you can still keep adding features to your product, which would then bring you back to research, take you to ideation, take you to prototyping and testing. And then when you get to the testing phase, in case your product does not solve a particular problem, you would have to go back to research. That which is why I said that it's not a linear phase. You can always go back to the previous one that you moved from. So that's how it goes. Okay, so the next thing is design principles. So design should be functional, which is the first one. It should be usable. It should be accessible, right? Design should be desirable and it should be sustainable, right? So I want you to always know that a design, when done well, should be functional. It should be able to meet the user's needs. It should be usable. right? It should be simple and clear to navigate. It should be accessible. Everyone should be able to use a product that you have designed for a group of people. So if you are designing for kids of, let's say, 5 to 10 years old, and then you design a product that, let's say, a colorblind person child cannot use, it is not accessible. So there are so many things that makes a design accessible. You need to look into it and create a product that is actually accessible for this group of people, so that everybody has the same emotions to the product, and some people do not feel left behind, right, even though they have disabilities. So it should be desirable. People should find it appealing, and they should have a very good positive emotion when they connect with your product, and then it should be sustainable, right? So the difference between product design and engineering. So product design is actually and engineering is actually closely related. There are some key differences between the two. So let's look at the differences. So product design focuses on the user experience and the artistic design of a product, whilst engineering is concerned with the technical aspect of bringing product to market. Right. Product designers must be able to take into account the need and preferences of the user, while also considering the technical constraints and business requirements of the product. So we've spoken about this before in the previous slides, but the difference now is that product design is what we've been talking about, and the engineering aspect is the technical aspect of it, which is the development aspect of it. So this is just to bring you to speed to understand the difference between product designers and engineers here, but we are talking extensively on product designers. So product designers and engineers must work closely together to ensure that the final product meets the technical requirements and the user's needs. So when you start working in a company, or when you're working in a company, or even if you're not working in a company, you need to know that when you design products, you should be able to work. Like, the technical people should be able to implement it well. They shouldn't have so much difficulties implementing your product, so that the experience does not change. And then at the end of the day, you are supposed to work together, work as a team, to be able to come up with a final product that actually meets the user's needs. You should prototype well, so that they can also create products that are good and that has what you want it to have. You don't want to just design products and leave it to them. They might not be able to come up with the exact flow you want them to come up with, and it might not even look the way you want it to look. So you want to work together with them from the beginning to the end and make sure it's actually serving the purpose for which you are designing for. So importance of user-centered design. User-centered design is an approach to design that prioritizes the needs and preferences and behaviors of a user throughout the design process. The goal of UCD is to create a product that are effective, efficient, and enjoyable to use. Right? So the importance of user centered design lies in the ability to create products that meet the needs of end users, resulting in high level of satisfaction and adoption of the product. By involving users in design process, designers can gain valuable insight into user behavior and preferences, and can be used to inform design decisions and create a better user experience. So user-centered design is basically your an approach you're supposed to use to create a design that actually works for the user. The goal of UCD is that the product should be efficient, it should be enjoyable, just like the design principles. It should be desirable, and then it should be good, and it should be sustainable as well. So these are the importance of user-centered design. So we will talk about examples of good UX and examples of bad UX. So it depends on your experience. Me, these are my experiences. So let's just go fast. For Google Maps, I enjoy Google Maps. I think the experience is really, really top notch. At least I haven't gotten missing before, but I've seen people complain about them getting missing when they use Google Maps. So at the end of the day, it's either there is something wrong or not. But generally, on the average, I like Google Map. So Slack is also a good example of a user-centered, a good UX, right? You can use it to do so many things, like communicate with your team members, organize conversation, and share files. And I think the overall experience is actually good. And Spotify is a good example too. So yeah, The next one is Airbnb. I like their website, it's cool. Then Apple iPhone, I also think it's a good US because it's actually very simple to use, and even for non-technical people, they can easily use it. So for bad UX, um, I'm not really a fan of healthcare .gov website. Actually, I'm not a fan of all government websites because for some reason they are actually not impressive. I don't really like them. So this is my own. I don't know about you. So you need to check different websites and see what works for you. See the ones that you like, the ones you prefer, and the one that doesn't confuse you when you want to navigate them. Right? Google Wave, Facebook privacy settings. I actually struggle to find that thing. I always struggle to find it. So yeah. So you can do your own, check different websites, note down what you think, the ones that you think have good UX, give your reasons why you think it has good UX. Note the ones that have bad UX, give your reasons why you think it has bad UX. At the end of the day, this exercise will actually help you make informed decisions when you are designing your own product, because now you know what you think is okay, what you think is not good, right? And then you do better when you're designing your product. So reasons why user-centered design is important. It will increase usability, like more people will actually use your product. It will increase satisfaction because you've designed for the user, you have your intended user in mind. You'd have people who are satisfied to use your product because you've designed with them in mind, and there is nothing so difficult for them to handle on the product. So then better product adoption, exactly. So products are designed with the user's needs in mind and are most likely to be adopted and used by customers, resulting in increased sales and revenue. So apart from people having good experience, it will increase your sales and it will help you increase your revenues too, because a lot of people would use it more. There'll be higher conversion rates, and there are so many positive things when you design with the user in mind. Then you have competitive advantage. So maybe your competitors are offering the same product, the same service you are offering, but you have a better experience. People will tend to use yours more because it is less chaotic and they understand it more, and then reduce cost as well. So basically, that is everything we need to know about product design. As a new person, as a newbie that is joining product design, you need to know all of these things. You need to understand what product design is, what product engineering is, so that you don't conflict yourself or confuse yourself. And you also need to understand what are the skills a product designer should have that will make the person a good product designer, a good UX, user centered UX, the bad UX, why they are bad UXs. So this is just it. This is a simple overview of what product design is and what you need to know about product design, right? So this is the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like my channel, share with your friends, share with everybody. I'll create more content. I'll be adding more videos to this. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.